This is IGN. A simple but well-executed action-adventure game that's elevated by artistry and heart. This is your IGN review of South of Midnight by Michael Higham. In an early chapter of South of Midnight, our protagonist Hazel is coming to grips with her newfound powers. It's an important tone setter because it's representative of what developer Compulsion Games is trying to do throughout a concise 12-hour runtime. Mythical creatures straight out of folklore from the American South drive a human story that stands as a fantastic example of how the local can be universal, with the grand tapestry of that region's culture and history wrapped around an otherwise fairly straightforward action-adventure game. While there are plenty of aspects of South of Midnight that aren't necessarily groundbreaking, it's all uplifted by a clear and well-executed artistic vision that makes it one of the more memorable Xbox console exclusives of this generation. Hazel's ability to manipulate the magical threads of an ethereal realm is both the weapon she uses to defeat otherworldly demons in combat and the tool she relies on to piece together the tragic pasts of her neighbors and forebears in her hometown of Prospero. It's a fictional place, but one that's deeply rooted in the very real experience of the South. Traces of its dark history litter the dilapidated houses after a treacherous flood, contrasting with the remnants of communities that struggled to survive in those harsh conditions. These touches provide the rich context South of Midnight is working within, while also unraveling a larger story about the pain, guilt, and trauma many of us experience in our own family lives. From a gameplay perspective, South of Midnight is rather simple. You're ushered through fairly linear levels that alternate between platforming and combat encounters, with a few secrets hidden off the beaten path like journal entries from the locals that enrich the story and extra upgrades for your powers and health. If you've scaled cliffsides in Uncharted, God of War, Tomb Raider, its frequent climbing sections will feel pretty familiar. But with the authentic sights and sounds of the American South at the forefront, the detailed vistas, ramshackled towns, or rushing rivers create a strong sense of place. With Hazel's weaving powers, you'll zip through air, clear paths forward, or summon ethereal objects depending on what obstacles are in front of you. There isn't really much to figure out per se, although there is an enjoyable momentum as you're funneled from one fight to the next, or when you're trying to outrun evil spirits chasing you down in the lengthy platforming sequences that cap off every major chapter. Combat itself is contained in distinct arenas across each level, with the idea being that Haints, the demonic manifestations of people's pain and sorrow, plague all of Prospero, and Hazel is the one who can cleanse that corruption. It's a comfortable, if predictable, cadence that doesn't really wear thin since it's judicious about when you actually have to fight. This helps South of Midnight not feel repetitive, and I genuinely looked forward to each combat encounter. Similar to the platforming, these fights aren't really pushing any boundaries, but Hazel's attack combos and spells have a certain chunkiness that I really enjoyed. That's especially true when firing off her stun weaves and grappling strand to stack damage, then leaving a burst behind with a perfect dodge. Cycling through a short list of fun abilities like that makes the basics satisfying. South of Midnight's foundation is perfectly competent, but it's everything else around it that makes it truly stand out, grabbing you with its painterly character designs and striking stop-motion animation style. That unconventional choice helps special moments pop during cutscenes, although it isn't really noticeable in the action, and if you find it too jarring, you can optionally disable the stop-motion effect altogether. Even without it, the details in characters' faces, their expressiveness, and the superb voice acting feel like the real reward chapter after chapter. The specific accents and vernacular come across authentically, to the point where I didn't think twice about them since it all sounded so familiar to me as someone who was born in the region. Perhaps my favorite touch, however, is how South of Midnight uses its fantastic soundtrack to tie everything together thematically. With a mix of bluegrass, blues, jazz, and American folk tunes that weave in harmonizing choirs, church organs, or banjos and fiddles, it's a showcase of how important music has been throughout the region's history. Big story moments are built up through songs written as if a narrator was walking you through what the characters felt and experienced in their life, and they're queued up at just the right time to propel you forward as you're playing. It got me in my feelings at times, because there's not much more I love than a fantastic soundtrack used as an effective storytelling device. South of Midnight is a straightforward but well-executed action-adventure game on the surface, with a simple but satisfying mix of combat and platforming. It's focused, filling out its 12-hour runtime nicely without ever dragging or relying on unnecessary padding. Beyond those basics, however, is a certain heart and artistry that elevates the whole package, inviting you to peer into the deep American South through its folklore, nature, and culture. It might not be the most profound exploration of family life, but it's delivered in ways that feel authentic. From its striking art style to the evocative tunes that bring big story moments together, Hazel's journey is a captivating one no matter where you come from. South of Midnight's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest South of Midnight updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.